What's going on, YouTube? I'm thinking about doing another kind of video. Maybe you guys will like it or not, but every good video concept needs a theme song. And you guys know me, it's not a Feer video if I'm not stealing it. So here we go, let's get into the theme. The OGs will remember watching this. Overtime theme song. Chat, we're going to get into... There's no chat here. YouTube, we're going to get into Feer's 5 wins and fails of the past week. It'll be a little bit of news of what's going on and a little bit of just joking around a bit. The first fail that I'm going to give of this previous week of news is going to go to Oski. Oski's bladder specifically. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, you should, because when I was watching apparently Jack's stream for the Team Liquid qualifying event, this was their very first game that they played in RLCS. If you guys don't know, we had videos talking about how Oski and Atau both got exceptions to be able to play in the RLCS, and their very first game, they're getting in trouble for taking a toilet break right when it's supposed to start. This admin here saying, please note, toilet breaks are supposed to be taken before a series is due to begin. And I guess it must have been Oski who had to go pee, as he says, cool, sorry, which I thought was so funny. What are the chances that some of the youngsters have problems right away? Anyways, make sure you follow me on Twitter to get these fire updates if you haven't already. But that brings us to our second win/fail of the week, which is a win. And that win is for Rocket League. Rocket League Esports specifically, they have changed their community guidelines. We had some videos that people watched before talking about how they had recently changed it from allowing basically anybody to participate in the community tournaments to only allowing people 15 and above. Well, they've switched that. They put it back down to 13 years old. I say back down. I think it wasn't anything before. I feel like it was just not, there was no guidance. Now it's 13. I think that's a fine number. Honestly, I can't think of anybody who's competing for top honors who is under 13. There was Fast for a little bit when he was 12, but he's already gotten older. And I don't know if there's any other 12-year-olds out there. So this is a total fix. A lot of people are out there saying this was like what the community was clamoring for. I mean, I think the community was definitely pointing out that their change was a significant one. I had a couple conversations with people about whether or not it was a good thing. And honestly, I wasn't sure. I was going to wait and see how things turned out. Turns out we don't even need to wait more than 2 weeks. 2 weeks go by and already they've switched it back down to 13. I think there's going to be no worries about this at all. I can't imagine anybody complaining about a 13-year-old minimum. So yeah, they basically fixed that. Apparently they touched up a couple other things related to the naming of tournaments or the length of tournaments. I think they said it had to be 3 days. It couldn't be more than 3 days. And then they pulled off of that too, I guess, because when they thought about it, they're like, wait, we actually don't care how many days your tournament is. I don't know what they were trying to do with that in the first place, but whatever. They've cleaned up a few of the ones that are weird, the ones that I wouldn't have expected them to enforce anyways, and now they just aren't even part of the rules. So while I already felt like players under 13 years old were probably or under 15 years old were probably going to get to play, and they wouldn't actually shut down a tournament that was over 3 days, now it's at least not in the rules, so we don't actually have to worry about it. So it's a win. It's a win for Psyonix, for Rocket League Esports, for updating their guidelines. I don't think anybody has any complaints anymore. Some of these are weird, like energy drinks. You can't have an energy drink sponsor, but like whatever. I don't think that's that big a deal. I guess maybe G Fuel is probably the big one that is considered an energy drink, right? That people maybe want to have G Fuel sponsoring stuff, but that's only for sponsoring tournaments, anyways. And you know the G Fuel guys, the streamers and stuff, they're not sponsoring tournaments. They're not G Fuel sponsored tournaments. I don't think it's that big a deal. Firearms and everything else they list is like super obvious and definitely a good thing. I would say maybe car companies, but it makes sense. I think they have brands, they have deals with actual car companies. They don't want to have competing car companies. I'm not too worried about it. All these seem good to me. All these seem good. All the rules, there's nothing controversial. So it's almost boring. It's almost not a news story except for the fact that they undid the most relevant one, which is the 15-year-old gap. So let's move on. The next win goes to boot camping. Boot camping apparently is overpowered. You take any of those wimpy Rocket League players, put them in a boot camp, and it turns them around. Specifically, version 1 boot camped apparently in Minnesota. Seems like an interesting place to boot camp if you ask me, but these are the results of their boot camp. They dominated, didn't drop a single game in their group, and then went on to win the 3rd regional, as well as qualify for the major. I mean, boot camping seems to be overpowered. When Endpoint was winning a lot last season, I think they were also boot camping. And that makes me come to mention, I think Endpoint is boot camping again for this final major. Endpoint kind of on the cusp of being able to make it into the major. They are tied with Misfits. A bunch of different teams could take them over if they don't have a good regional. But they're going to boot camp. They'll have the boot camp buff, and it seems to be overpowered. So expect to see Endpoint at the major. The next win or fail I'm going to give out has a little bit of context. So first, let's watch the end of the NRG versus FaZe game this weekend.
Defense. Justin diving in. Center ball to Garrett. Garrett can't make the shot. Low boost for Justin and Garrett. Counterattack opportunity, but Squishy slows things down. Pinch pass down. AJ with a miss. It's wide open. Garrett will end the series. NRG clinched the #1 seed in NA.
And it's all off of a miss like that from AJ. The ball was right down on the car. And of course, NRG, they're going to pick that up.
So there is the end of the NRG and FaZe game. Now, after the series ended, I don't know if you guys saw, we're actually going to go to AJ's tweet first. AJ tweeted out GG's 3-4 to NRG, and he's showing a clip of the moment in which he was going for that final save when he ended up missing. You hear the casters talking about him missing. We can full screen this here. And as you can see, I don't know why this is sped up in the first place, but you can see Sypical goes to get a touch, and the game on AJ's screen shows the ball moving, which he tries to align for, and then ends up whiffing. There's been a lot of discussions about this. AJ just tweeted GG's 3-4 to NRG and then just showed a clip. He didn't say anything about it. He didn't say, like, we would have won. He's just showing the lag, and everybody is implying everything else. I think what ended up happening in the fail that we're going to end up giving out, I think happened because of a lot of implied nature of what AJ meant by this. And also because there's a lot of fanboys and girls out there that are very annoying. And I think they were ultimately the ones being responded to here. So the fail does go to Stumpy and his take on AJ's tweet. He says, "Ghost hits suck. We all know that. But this is an issue with Sypical not hitting the ball in the first place and AJ moving forward too quickly and dodging left instead of forward or right. Bad defense in a high-pressure situation from FaZe, lost in the series, nothing else." So I think what Stumpy was trying to say here, and I give him the fail because basically the community gave him the fail. You'll see, we'll look at a couple different responses that basically instantly came out and said that they disagreed. You see Sizz saying he hard disagreed. Jack says, poor take, not going to lie. I feel like what Stumpy was trying to say here was point out the fact that not one play is the result of the entire series. And I feel like he felt like AJ was saying, this is the only reason why we lost. Now, I think all AJ was trying to do is show that there's moments like this that happen in an online game that suck for everybody. It's not ideal to see the ball move and then miss and then end up losing your game in overtime of Game 7 because of it. But I also don't think he was sitting there saying, being salty about this being the only reason why that his team lost. I think he's probably more realistic about the fact that there's a ton of plays that go into a series. In fact, they kind of get into that a little bit. So we're going to give the fail to Stumpy. Stumpy even backed off of it eventually. You could see his follow-up tweet. In fairness, after watching it a few more times and reading the replies, the blame isn't on AJ for his positioning or his dodge. He was misled by the ghost hit, and luckily at LAN, there will be none of this. That's true. That's true. So at the end of the day, I think Stumpy backed off of this take. The community basically forced him into it. But you can understand the motivations behind it. There's a lot of fanboys who probably said what Stumpy thought AJ was saying, which was, if this game wasn't broken, then FaZe is still the best team. Or, the people who go out there and say, like, when NRG loses or when a team loses, they stop trying. Those people can be really frustrating to deal with. And I think it's that kind of energy that leads up to Stumpy wanting to make a tweet like this and say, stop blaming the game. But I don't think the players have that same kind of mindset. And I don't expect AJ to have that kind of mindset either. So ultimately, that's what happened. That's another news. That's going to be a fail for Stumpy, but we're going to follow it right up with a win for Stumpy because as far as I'm aware, Stumpy and Cole, they're the guys doing the video editing for Rocket League nowadays, and this was a great video that was released this weekend for Kronovi. Oh my goodness, that's so incredibly loud. This is a great video that was released for Kronovi that I believe Stumpy and Cole had a serious hand in making.
You don't get players like Kronovi in esports very often.
He will always be the GOAT in terms of what made Rocket League so big. Was
I remember
everyone watching Kronovi.
I remember the first time
belief in the
that I like heard about Rocket League or started looking at who could be good and like learned you could fly. I remember sitting at work reading an online article. Somebody had written an article about Kronovi, who was like the best player from Start BC, and even finding out that Start BC was a thing, and then following Kronovi. I've been following since the beginning. Kronovi was the man. Krabi was the man. I can verify what everybody else is saying.
That this game could be a successful esport.
He's been called the Mountain for a reason. He inspired everyone, and that's not something.
Well, that was slightly disingenuous. He's called the Mountain because of because of a video he made in which he said he's at the top of the mountain, and if anybody knocks him off, he's just gonna climb right back. And everyone started calling him the Mountain after that. And I think that had more to do with it than him being the mountain for everyone to climb. But anyways,
something that's written in the stats book. That's something ethereal. That's something that unless you say it, you may not realize. So it has to be said.
Kronovi is the godfather of Rocket League. He got probably 80% of the pro scene into Rocket League. If you put Mount Rushmore, he's there probably 4 times.
I can agree with that.
Matter. Oh Kronovi gonna carry this over everybody.
Mount Rushmore, Kronovi.
That is a mog at the camera moment.
I think Kronovi
is like the only guaranteed player
to grind and start content creation, and as well as trying to go pro.
Kronovi, if you had to pick one player that defines Rocket League, I'd pick Kronovi. Everyone knows him, everyone watched him, you know, he was having thousands of viewers when everyone was getting hundreds at best, you know, and he's the first pro player I've ever watched, so I've got a lot of respect for that guy.
I mean, Kronovi, he was the first big pro that everyone looked up to. He was the person that pushed everyone to do what they can do.
My impression on Kronovi has been the god of the game. Ever since season 1, I've looked up to him. He impacted me in just wanting to, you know, achieve my dreams.
AJ over to Krabi, and Kronovi will not be denied on the goal line. He scores.
I remember watching season 1 Worlds live.
LJ,
with the 360 goal that he hit.
Now Kronovi coming up with over 0 company. He tries to drop it in. What a play from Kronovi. Throwing some spin-a-roonies on that one, really. Look at this 360.
Throwing some spin-a-roonies is a great call by Lawler.
Was incredible. I think it was the right storyline. He had to win it, and he did.
Kronovi tries to put it over. Mike Rules drops it. Cookster takes the shot. It doesn't matter.
That is true.
iBuy Power are the RLCS champions.
He set like a foundation of the mechanical level. Like, I feel like everyone built off of that, and we're here now because of that.
The community that was at the start of Rocket League, he was the king of it. We genuinely looked up to him.
To me, he was the complete package. Being this incredibly talented SART player, Rocket League starts out, and he's going to put out montage videos.
Kronovi was the original
at the time,
young gun. Kronovi was like, I'm pretty sure he was like 15 or 16 when he started too. Because I remember he'd have a salty moment or something, and everyone would freak out. Like, oh, Kronovi, I was like, guys, don't forget that like he is still a young kid like the rest of the people who are playing. But now he's like, after like the first year or so, he has just become the model example of like a mature pro, which has just been amazing and a great example for the future kids.
Absolutely bonkers stuff. You know, nobody knows how to fly, and he's like, watch this.
I truly believe a lot of Rocket League success rests on Kronovi's shoulders.
Kronovi, man, you had an absolutely amazing career, and the influence that you've had on the scene is incredible. Nobody will ever reach out again, so thank you for the time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you've gave us. It's been absolutely amazing watching you and being able to finally, for me, reach my goal. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck, Kronovi. You're one of the best teammates I've had, and it's sad to see you go.
Thank you, Kronovi. Thank you for every single memory that you've given us, and thank you for just being the person that you are.
Everyone involved in Rocket League was made better because of Kronovi. So Kronovi, thank you.
A legend has been written in stone, His name's the Mountain. His name is Kronovi. And we will miss his face around the scene.
True, dude. When are we going to see Cuxers? Kronovi and Cuxer, man. Those are the two. Those are the two legends. Cuxer doesn't seem like he's about to retire anytime soon. But, man, Kronovi, what a run. Anyways, guys, that is the Feer 5 wins and fails. Win for that video. I think it's a great produced video. I think it's awesome to honor the legends of the game like that. Who's in the Mount Rushmore? We talked about the Mount Rushmore of ones on my channel before, but this is not what we're talking about right now. The Mount Rushmore of all of Rocket League. Kronovi, I think, is probably the only one person who nobody could argue. It's definitely Kronovi for sure. And the other three, you could maybe argue. So who do you guys have? Maybe you think there's another example of somebody who definitely needs to be in the Mount Rushmore. Let me know. If you like videos like this one, you can subscribe and tell me in the comments. I mean, that's really what will make me make more videos like this kind of stuff, because I am trying to do new things, as weird as it sounds. Anyways, hope you guys had fun. See you later. Bye, YouTube.